Ladies and gentlemen, life is a strange and unpredictable journey. Along the way, we encounter challenges, joys, and the occasional existential crisis. But sometimes life takes us down paths where we feel like we're lacking. No girlfriend, no friends, no money. It's like the universe hands us an empty cup and says, figure it out. But here's the thing, emptiness isn't the end, it's a blank slate. Today, let's explore what it means to confront these seemingly overwhelming voids and why. While relationships and connections matter, money introduces a whole new set of challenges. Together, we'll walk through 10 perspectives that may not solve all the problems, but will inspire you to redefine what they mean. Solitude can feel like a punishment. When you have no one to share your thoughts, joys, or frustrations with, it's easy to spiral into loneliness. But solitude isn't always the enemy. It's a teacher. It forces you to confront who you are at your core. Without distractions, you meet yourself. You start to notice patterns in your thinking, dreams you'd ignored and fears you hadn't faced. Alone, you're raw and exposed, but that's where growth begins. Think of solitude as a mirror. When you look into it, you see all your cracks and imperfections, but also your potential. In solitude, creativity thrives. Many of the world's most inspiring ideas came from people who had long stretches of quiet time. It's in those moments that you get to ask, what do I truly want from life? You stop chasing trends and start creating meaning. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it feels isolating. But there's strength in knowing you can stand alone. The world moves fast and people will come and go. Learning to be content with yourself gives you the foundation to navigate it all. Solitude also sharpens your focus. When the noise of relationships and obligations quiets down, you gain clarity. You see which areas of your life need attention and which ones are distractions. This focus becomes a compass for what comes next. Some might say, but what about loneliness? Loneliness is part of the process. The more you resist it, the more it persists. Accept it as a companion, and you'll notice it start to fade. The irony is, when you learn to be okay alone, you become magnetic to others. Life doesn't always offer you the company you want when you want it. But in those times, solitude becomes a kind of freedom. It allows you to think deeply, act authentically, and discover truths about yourself that no one else can provide. So if you find yourself alone, don't rush to fill the void. Sit with it, explore it. Let it teach you things you didn't know you needed to learn. Friendship isn't just about having people to hang out with. It's about connection, understanding, and support. If you find yourself without close friends, it might be time to redefine what friendship means to you. Often, we think friendship has to look a certain, weekend plans, shared secrets. But true friendship is more fluid. It's less about proximity and more about the depth of connection. Even a single meaningful relationship can outweigh a dozen shallow ones. Without friends, you have a chance to examine the kind of connections you want. Are you looking for people who challenge you, comfort you, or inspire you? Understanding this helps you attract the right kind of energy into your life. It's also important to recognize that loneliness doesn't mean failure. Sometimes life places us in seasons where friendships take a backseat to self-discovery. In those times, focus on becoming the kind of person you'd want as a friend. Building friendships takes effort, but it starts with authenticity. When you show up as yourself, flaws, quirks, and all, you create space for genuine connections. Pretending to be someone you're not only attracts the wrong kind of people. Use this time to reach out, attend events, join communities, or even start conversations with strangers. Friendship isn't just handed to you, it's cultivated. And the more you put yourself out there, the more chances you have to find your tribe. Technology can also be a tool. Online communities and platforms can connect you with people who share your passions, while digital friendships aren't a complete substitute for in-person connections. They can still be meaningful. Remember, you're not alone in feeling alone. Millions of people are looking for the same connection you are. Sometimes, all it takes is one brave step to find someone who's been waiting to meet you. It's easy to think having lots of friends equates to happiness, but popularity and value aren't the same. A crowded room doesn't guarantee fulfillment. Sometimes it just amplifies the noise. When you focus on adding value to others and to yourself, you shift your perspective. It's less about being liked and more about being impactful. Think about the kind of energy you bring into a space. Are you uplifting, encouraging, present? Value-driven relationships are rooted in mutual respect. They don't demand constant attention or validation. Instead, they're built on trust and shared experiences that leave both parties better than they were before. Being valuable doesn't mean being perfect. It means being genuine. People are drawn to authenticity, not perfection. When you stop trying to impress and start being real, you attract connections that resonate with your soul. Value also extends to self-worth. When you recognize your own value, you stop settling for relationships that drain you. You start setting boundaries and prioritizing your well-being. This shift in mindset can be life-changing. The pursuit of popularity often leaves you chasing approval. But when you focus on value, you operate from a place of abundance. You realize you have something unique to offer, and that realization becomes magnetic. Value isn't about grand gestures. It's about consistency. It's about showing up, being kind, and offering a listening ear. It's about doing the small things that make a big difference in someone's day. So, if you feel like you don't have enough friends, ask yourself, am I focused on being popular or am I focused on being valuable? The answer might surprise you. Relationships often carry a societal weight that makes them seem like the ultimate measure of success. We grow up bombarded with images and stories that glorify having a partner, as if it's the only thing that will make us whole. But here's the thing. Relationships, like many things in life, are not a magical fix for your problems. The illusion that having a partner will solve loneliness or validate your worth is a trap. If you aren't content within yourself, no relationship will fill that void. Partners aren't meant to complete you. They're meant to complement you. Depending on someone else for your happiness places an unfair burden on them and sets you up for disappointment. When you don't have a girlfriend or partner, it's easy to feel left out, especially when you see others in relationships. But instead of focusing on what you lack, shift your perspective. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I need to become to attract the relationship I want? This time without a partner is an opportunity to grow. It's a chance to build your own foundation of self-love and self-respect. Relationships built on desperation or neediness rarely last. But when you approach a partnership from a place of confidence and stability, it transforms the connection into something authentic and lasting. It's also important to realize that not everyone is in a happy relationship, no matter how it looks from the outside. Many people stay in unhealthy or unfulfilling partnerships out of fear of being alone. You have the freedom to avoid that mistake by waiting for the right connection. The pressure to be in a relationship can cloud your judgment. You may settle for someone who isn't right for you just to avoid being single. But being single isn't a curse, it's an opportunity. It gives you the time and space to understand yourself better and to focus on your personal growth. Instead of chasing relationships, nurture the relationship with yourself. Invest in your passions, explore your interests, and set goals that excite you. When you're fulfilled on your own, you become the kind of person who attracts healthy, meaningful relationships. Remember, love isn't something you find, it's something you create. And the most important place to create it is within yourself. When you feel like you're missing out on relationships, friendships, or even financial stability, it can leave you questioning your purpose. But purpose isn't something you stumble upon. It's something you cultivate. And often, it's born from the very struggles you're facing. Purpose doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't mean saving the world or achieving fame. It can be as simple as finding joy in creating, helping others, or learning something new. The key is to stop looking outward for validation and start looking inward for meaning. One of the most powerful ways to discover your purpose is by leaning into your passions. What excites you? What makes you lose track of time? These are clues to where your purpose might lie. Even small, consistent actions toward what you love can snowball into something meaningful. Purpose also grows through service. When you focus on making a positive impact on others, you create a ripple effect of fulfillment, helping someone else. Whether it's through kindness, mentorship, or support, gives your life a sense of direction. It's easy to feel aimless when you're struggling with external challenges, but sometimes purpose emerges in unexpected ways. The very obstacles you're facing could be shaping you into someone who's uniquely equipped to overcome them and to help others do the same. Your purpose will evolve. What drives you today may not be the same as what drives you 10 years from now. And that's okay. The important thing is to stay curious and open to growth. When you embrace the journey of finding purpose, you stop fixating on what you don't have and start focusing on what you can create. Purpose gives you resilience. It helps you navigate life's uncertainties with a sense of hope and determination. So if you're feeling lost, don't rush to find all the answers. Start small. Follow what lights you up and trust that purpose will reveal itself in time. Society often equates success with wealth, relationships, and social status. But these metrics are superficial. True success is deeply personal, and it looks different for everyone. It's about creating a life that aligns with your values and brings you peace. When you strip away society's expectations, you're free to define success on your own terms. Maybe for you, success is about creating art, traveling, or simply living authentically. The beauty of this approach is that it's sustainable. You're no longer chasing external validation. You're living for yourself. Success is also about resilience. It's about how you navigate challenges, adapt to change, and keep moving forward despite setbacks. Even if you don't have everything you want right now, your ability to persist is a success in itself. Financial struggles can make it hard to feel successful, but money is just one piece of the puzzle. It's a tool, not a measure of your worth. Some of the most successful people started with nothing but a dream and the determination to make it happen. Gratitude is a powerful tool in redefining success. When you focus on what you have instead of what you lack, you cultivate a mindset of abundance. This doesn't mean settling for less. It means appreciating the journey while working toward your goals. Another key to success is staying true to your values. It's easy to get lost in the pursuit of what others think you should achieve. But when you align your actions with your beliefs, you create a life that feels meaningful and fulfilling. Redefining success requires patience. It's not about instant gratification. It's about building something lasting. Trust the process and celebrate the small wins along the way. Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you today with an essential and uplifting message. One that has the power to transform hearts and minds. God loves you. Yes, you, no matter where you are in life or what you have been through. The love of God is unwavering, unchanging, and all-encompassing. It is a love that reaches across time, space, and circumstances, offering grace, hope, and redemption. No matter your past, no matter your struggles, God's love is greater than anything you can imagine. This love does not come with conditions or requirements, for it is freely given to all who receive it. Today, I invite you to open your heart to this truth, for it is the foundation of peace and the source of true joy. God's love is not like any other love. It surpasses human understanding and reaches to the very depths of our souls. It is a love that endures forever, not a fleeting feeling or an emotion that fades. It is a steadfast, unshakable love that never fails. As we explore this truth, I want to share with you 10 key thoughts about the love of God. Truths that can change your life if you let them. These thoughts will illuminate the depth of God's love for you and remind you of the unshakable foundation it provides. God's love is not based on who you are or what you have done. It is not contingent upon your successes or failures, your good deeds or mistakes. God loves you because of who He is, not because of who you are. His love is unearned, freely given, and cannot be taken away. This love transcends all human limitations and is not influenced by anything we do or fail to do. When you grasp this truth, you will begin to experience true freedom. The freedom that comes from knowing that you are loved, not for what you do, but simply because you exist. This unconditional love is the foundation of our relationship with God. It is the bedrock upon which our faith is built. The Bible tells us that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Romans 5. This is the ultimate demonstration of God's unconditional love. A love that reached out to us even when we were far from Him. There is no measuring up or trying to be good enough to earn God's love. It is freely given, and all we need to do is receive it. God's unconditional love is also a reminder of His mercy and grace. In a world where love is often conditional, based on what we can offer in return, God's love stands as a beacon of hope. It reminds us that we do not have to strive for approval or live in fear of rejection. We are already accepted just as we are by a God who loves us without measure. This love does not mean that God overlooks our faults or sins. Instead, it means that despite our imperfections, God still loves us. His love is what compels us to change and grow, not because we fear punishment, but because we are overwhelmed by the beauty and kindness of His love. It is this love that transforms us, making us desire to live in a way that reflects His goodness and grace. In every moment, we are recipients of God's unconditional love. No matter how many times we fall, no matter how far we stray, God's love remains steadfast. His arms are always open to welcome us back, and His heart is always ready to forgive. There is no place too far, no mistake too great that can separate us from the love of God. He loves you with an everlasting love. God's love is not limited or confined to a specific group of people. It is not reserved for the righteous or the deserving. The love of God extends to every person, regardless of race, background. It reaches across every boundary and barrier, touching the lives of those who are far from Him and embracing those who have wandered away. There is no person beyond the reach of God's love, for it is all-encompassing. This truth is a beautiful reminder of God's inclusive heart. He does not play favorites or show partiality. In the eyes of God, every person is valuable, precious, and worthy of love. It is easy for us to judge others based on their actions or appearance, but God looks at the heart. His is not limited by human prejudices, biases, or social status. He sees every person as His child, deserving of His love and grace. God's love is also all-encompassing in the sense that it addresses every aspect of our lives. It is not confined to our spiritual needs alone, but reaches into every area of our existence. God cares about your struggles, your joys, your fears, and your dreams. His love touches your relationships, your work, your health, and your future. There is no area of your life that is beyond His concern or care. When we understand the all-encompassing nature of God's love, we realize that we are never alone. In every situation, in every circumstance, God is present, offering His love and support. His love surrounds us, upholding us in times of difficulty and celebrating with us in moments of joy. This love is always available, always near, and always ready to comfort and strengthen us. God's all-encompassing love is also a reminder of His sovereignty. He is the creator of the universe, and His love is not limited by space or time. There is no place where God's love does not reach, and there is no time when it is unavailable. This is a source of great comfort. No matter where we go or what we face, we can be assured that God's love is with us, guiding us and supporting us every step of the way. When we grasp the all-encompassing nature of God's love, we are filled with peace and confidence. We no longer have to live in fear or anxiety, knowing that the Creator of all things cares for us deeply and personally. His love covers us, protects us, and provides for us in every season and in every situation. The love of God has the power to change lives. When you encounter the love of God, you cannot remain the same. His love has a transforming effect on the heart and soul. It is a love that brings healing to brokenness, freedom to the captive, and hope to the hopeless. It is a love that changes your perspective, your priorities, and your purpose in life. The Bible tells us that God's love is a refining fire, purifying us and making us more like Him. It is a love that refines our character and helps us grow in righteousness. When we understand how deeply we are loved by God, we begin to desire to live in a way that honors Him. This transformation is not something we can achieve on our own. It is the work of God's love within us. God's love transforms not only our behavior, but also our hearts. It is easy to become hardened by the difficulties of life, to grow cynical and bitter. But when we open ourselves to God's love, we experience a softening of the heart. His love helps us to forgive those who have wronged us, to show kindness to those who are unkind, and to offer grace to those who do not deserve it. This is the power of God's love at work within us. The transformational power of God's love is evident in the lives of countless individuals throughout history. From those who were lost in despair to those who were trapped in sin, the love of God has brought about remarkable changes. People who once lived in darkness now walk in the light of His love. Those who were burdened by guilt and shame have been set free by His grace. When you experience the transformational power of God's love, you begin to see yourself as God sees you. You understand that you are valuable, cherished, and capable of great things. The love of God empowers you to pursue your dreams, to overcome obstacles, and to live a life of purpose and meaning. This is the kind of transformation that only God's love can bring. As you embrace the love of God, you will find that your life takes on a new direction. You will no longer be driven by fear or self-interest, but will be motivated by love. This is the greatest transformation of all. The transformation from living for yourself to living for the glory of God and the good of others. In a world filled with turmoil, conflict, and uncertainty, God's love offers a peace that surpasses all understanding. It is a peace that does not depend on external circumstances, but comes from knowing that we are loved by the Creator of the universe. This peace is not fleeting or temporary, but is a deep, abiding sense of security and calm that comes from being in relationship with God. The peace that comes from God's love is different from the peace the world offers. The world offers peace that is often conditional, dependent on the resolution of problems or the achievement of goals. But the peace of God is not dependent on our circumstances. It is a peace that transcends our understanding and remains with us even in the midst of hardship and difficulty. This peace comes from knowing that God is in control. When we rest in the love of God, we can trust that He is working all things together for our good, even when we cannot see the bigger picture. This assurance gives us the strength to face challenges and to navigate the uncertainties of life with confidence and grace. God's love brings peace to our hearts, replacing anxiety and fear with a sense of calm. It allows us to let go of worry and trust that God is taking care of us. His love reminds us that we are never alone and that we can rest in His embrace, knowing that He is our protector, provider, and guide. The peace that comes from God's love also brings reconciliation. It is a peace that breaks down barriers and heals relationships. In a world filled with division and strife, the love of God offers a way to bridge the gaps that separate us. It calls us to forgive, to seek understanding, and to work toward unity. The love of God is the foundation for true peace, both in our hearts and in the world. When we experience God's peace, we are able to live with a sense of calm purpose, regardless of the chaos around us. This peace gives us the strength to endure hardships and the courage to face challenges. It is a peace that guards our hearts and minds, keeping us centered in God's love. God's love is not temporary. It does not fade with time or change with seasons. It is eternal, lasting forever. From the beginning of time to the end of time, God's love remains constant and unchanging. This is a love that will never run out, never grow weary, and never fade. It is a love that transcends the limitations of our earthly existence and extends into eternity. This eternal love is a source of great hope for believers. It assures us that no matter what happens in this life, God's love will continue. Even in death, we are secure in His love, knowing that it will carry us into the eternal presence of God. This eternal love is the anchor for our souls, giving us a sense of purpose and direction, even in the midst of life's trials. God's eternal love is also a reminder that our value is not based on the temporary things of this world. This love is the foundation of our identity. and it will never change no matter what happens in our lives. The eternal nature of God's love also means that it is not bound by the limitations of time or space. God's love is not confined to our earthly experiences. It extends into eternity, providing us with a future that is secure and full of hope. This is a love that will never end, a love that will last forever. When we understand the eternal nature of God's love, we can live with a sense of peace and assurance. We are not living for temporary pleasures or fleeting achievements, but for an eternal future in the presence of a loving God. This eternal love gives us hope in the face of suffering and joy in the midst of hardship, for we know that nothing can separate us from the love of God. God's eternal love is a promise that we can hold on to no matter what the future holds. It is a love that will sustain us through every trial, every challenge, and every sorrow. And it is a love that will be with us, not just in this life, but for all eternity. There are few pains as deep as a broken heart, whether it is the pain of loss, rejection, betrayal, or unmet expectations. The heart can be wounded in ways that seem beyond repair. But God's love has the power to heal the broken heart. It is a healing love, one that mends the deepest wounds and brings comfort to those who are hurting. When we experience heartache, we may feel abandoned or forgotten. We may wonder if anyone truly understands the depth of our pain. But God's love is a love that sees us in our brokenness and reaches out to heal us. He knows our sorrows, and He is near to the brokenhearted, offering His love as a balm for our. This healing love is not a superficial comfort that ignores our pain. It is a love that enters into our suffering and transforms it. It is a love that walks with us through the darkest valleys and lifts us out of despair. God's healing love is not limited by the severity of our pain, but is powerful enough to restore even the most broken of hearts. When we allow God's love to heal us, we find that our wounds are not just covered up, but truly healed. The scars may remain, but they no longer hold the power to control us. Instead, they become a testimony to the healing power of God's love. What was once a source of pain becomes a place of strength and resilience. God's love also brings hope to the brokenhearted. When we are hurting, it can feel as though there is no end to our suffering. But God's love assures us that there is a future beyond our pain, a future filled with healing, joy, and restoration. His love does not leave us in our pain. It brings us out of it. For those who are brokenhearted, God's love offers the promise of renewal. It is a love that brings new life to what was once shattered. And in the process, we are drawn closer to God, finding that His love is sufficient to carry us through the most painful seasons of life. Every person longs for purpose and meaning in life. We want to know that our lives matter and that we are contributing to something greater than ourselves. The love of God provides the foundation for our true purpose. When we understand that we are loved by God, we begin to see our lives in a new light. We are not here by accident. We are here because God has a plan and a purpose for us. This purpose is not found in the pursuit of wealth, fame, or power. It is found in living out the love of God in the world. Our purpose is to love God and to love others, to reflect His goodness and grace in all we do. When we embrace God's love, we begin to live a life of significance, one that is aligned with His will and His heart. The love of God also gives us the strength to persevere in our purpose. There will be challenges along the way, and there will be times when we feel uncertain or inadequate. But when we know that we are loved by God, we find the courage to press on. We are not relying on our own strength or abilities, but on the love of God that sustains us and equips us for the journey. God's love is the ultimate source of motivation and inspiration. When we understand the depth of His love for us, we are filled with a desire to share that love with the world. Our purpose becomes a mission, a calling to bring God's love to others, to be instruments of His grace and peace. And in doing so, we find fulfillment and joy that nothing else can provide. When we live out the purpose that God has set for us, we find that our lives take on eternal significance. Our actions are no longer driven by selfish motives or fleeting desires, but by the love of God which lasts forever. This is the foundation of true purpose, living in response to God's love and sharing that love with the world. God's love is the key to unlocking our true potential. It empowers us to be who we were created to be, to fulfill the purpose for which we were designed. And when we live in this love, we find that our lives are filled with meaning, joy, and peace now and for eternity. The love of God not only transforms our own hearts, but also empowers us to extend that love to others. It is a love that calls us to be vessels of grace, kindness, and mercy in a world that so desperately needs it. When we experience the love of God in our lives, we are compelled to share it with those around us. The love of God is not meant to be hoarded or kept to ourselves. It is meant to be poured out, given freely, and shared generously with others. Loving others is not always easy. People can be difficult, unkind, and even hurtful. Yet, when we understand the depth of God's love for us, we are moved to love them anyway. The love of God teaches us to look beyond offenses and to see others as God sees them, as His beloved children worthy of love and grace. This love gives us the strength to forgive when we are wrong, to show kindness when we are mistreated, and to offer compassion when others are in need. Jesus Himself demonstrated this kind of love. He loved those who were unlovable, extending grace to sinners and outcasts. He taught us that the greatest commandment is to love God with all our heart, soul, and mind, and to love our neighbors as ourselves. This is the call to all who follow Christ, to love others with the same sacrificial, unconditional love that God has shown us. The love of God also empowers us to love those who are hard to love, those who are different from us, or those who may not love us back. It is easy to love those who are kind to us or who share our beliefs and values. But God's love calls us to love all people, regardless of their background, race, or circumstances. This love breaks down barriers, heals divisions, and fosters unity. It is a love that transcends the differences that often separate us and brings us together as one family under God. When we love others with the love of God, we become living testimonies of His grace. Our actions speak louder than words, showing the world what God's love looks like in action. It is through our love for others that the world will see the heart of God and be drawn to Him. Loving others is one of the most powerful ways we can share the message of God's love with the world. As we continue to experience God's love, we will find that it becomes easier to love others as He loves us. The more we are filled with His love, the more we are able to pour it out on those around us. This love transforms our relationships, heals broken connections, and brings peace to a fractured world. In a world full of uncertainty and change, the love of God offers us eternal security. There is nothing more secure than knowing that we are held in the loving hands of God, and that nothing, absolutely nothing, can separate us from His love. The love of God is the anchor for our souls, giving us stability and assurance even in the midst of life's storms. This security comes from knowing that God is sovereign over all things. He is in control of our lives and our circumstances, and His love is unwavering. No matter what trials or difficulties we face, we can be confident that God's love will never fail us. It is a love that is constant, unshakable, and eternal. When we place our trust in God's love, we can face the future with confidence, knowing that His love will always be there to guide us, protect us, and sustain us. In Isaiah 39, the Apostle Paul writes that nothing in all creation can separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus. This includes our fears, our doubts, our sins, and our failures. God's love is not dependent on our performance, but on His character. His love is not fleeting or conditional, but permanent and eternal. It is a love that stands firm in every circumstance, offering us security that nothing else in this world can provide. The love of God also offers us security in our identity. In a world where people often struggle with their sense of worth and value, the love of God reminds us that we are precious in His sight. We do not have to strive for approval or seek validation from others. Our value is not based on our achievements, our possessions, or our appearance, but on the fact that we are loved by God. This truth gives us a sense of security that is not shaken by the opinions of others or the circumstances of life. When we understand the eternal security that comes from God's love, we are freed from fear and anxiety. We no longer have to live in constant worry about the future or our place in the world. We can rest in the assurance that God's love is our foundation and that nothing can ever take that away from us. This security gives us peace in the present and hope for the future. God's love also offers us security in our eternal destiny. No matter what happens in this life, we can be assured that we have a place in God's eternal kingdom. Through faith in Jesus Christ, we are promised eternal life in the presence of God, where we will experience His love in its fullest measure. This is the ultimate security, the assurance that we will be with God forever, experiencing His love and joy for all eternity. The love of God is not something we can keep to ourselves. It is a love that compels us to action. It calls us to live out our faith in tangible ways, to serve others, and to share the good news of God's love with the world. The love of God is meant to move us, to motivate us, and to inspire us to live lives that reflect His heart. Throughout the Bible, we are called to love others as God has loved us. This is not a passive love, but an active love that seeks to meet the needs of others, to serve the marginalized, and to offer hope to the hopeless. The love of God calls us to be the hands and feet of Jesus in the world, to bring His light into the darkness, and to show His love to those who need it most. When we understand the depth of God's love, we cannot help but respond with action. We are called to be agents of change, to make a difference in the lives of those around us, whether it is through acts of kindness, words of encouragement, or sharing the gospel. God's love moves us to live for something greater than ourselves. It gives us a sense of purpose and direction as we seek to fulfill the calling God has placed on our lives. This call to action is not just about doing good deeds or fulfilling religious obligations. It is about living a life that is radically shaped by God's love. It is about allowing His love to transform us from the inside out, so that everything we do reflects His heart and His character. The love of God calls us to be more than just believers. It calls us to be disciples who live out our faith in every area of our lives. As we respond to the call of God's love, we find that we are not alone. We are part of a greater community of believers united in our mission to share the love of God with the world. Together, we can accomplish far more than we could on our own. The love of God binds us together, and together, we can make a difference in this world for His glory. God's love is a call to action, a call to love others, to serve others, and to share the hope of Christ with a broken and hurting world. When we embrace this call, we find fulfillment and purpose as we partner with God to bring His kingdom to earth. Ladies and gentlemen, the love of God is the most profound truth you will ever encounter. It is a love that is unconditional, all-encompassing, transformational, and eternal. It is a love that heals, brings peace, and empowers us to live with purpose. It is a love that calls us to love others and to act in accordance with His heart. And it is a love that offers us eternal security, no matter what challenges we may face in this life. I urge you today to embrace this love. Let it fill your heart and transform your life. You are loved by God, now and forever. Let this truth be the foundation of your life, and may it lead you to live in a way that reflects His love to the world.